absolut. Ja, müssen ja warm, ich brauch ein bisschen fast öxen, das ja enorm, ja, am Schwein auf, was, da fast das Hauen, ja, fang ich das, ja, ja, so, nicht so verbannt, besser, in der Mitte, ja, oh, so, auch gesessen, so allein so, als, das nur, ist halt was so. No, we're on the wharf and the guys, it's well, it's that time again. It's actually a Thursday morning and it's quite damp. We've had a couple of 3 days of really severe fogs. I mean, there have been quite heavy fogs around here, and it's brought on the fungi. Someone's lawn on the way in to the woods was absolutely covered in sulphur tufts and ones that I can't quite identify. Avalon brought home the other day 3 parasol mushrooms. I was 99.9% sure they were parasols, but that 0.9% means that I would not eat them, though I was very certain about it. I just needed to, I was a bit tired at the time, and what I really need to do is sit down and study them properly, but now they're with the compost. We've got some fungi in the back garden growing well, not identified them yet, the slugs get there before I do, and autumn is here in its full glory. Everything is damp, the wonderful mosaic, and I don't know whether you're going to get this, guys, of all the beech leaves and that are fallen on the ground, all the sort of russet browns and slight purples and yellows. This place is quite good. Well, I'm going to have a brew in a minute. I've had my breakfast indoors and I'm going to have a go at setting up a new way of setting up a tarp from the Ultimate Hang. More on that later. I'm going to switch off, pop this in my pocket and make my way to my usual spot. Well, I've got the kettle on, guys. As I said earlier, I've been cooking out today. I haven't done for the last couple of times I've been out. Partly the weather, and sometimes you get up early, it's still dark. I can sit at home and have my eggs on toast or whatever. Actually today it was lightly grilled salami with 2 duck eggs on a cranberry and pumpkin loaf. Just some calorie stocking up, because even if you're sitting down out in a place like this, you're burning up calories. Autumn's finally hit us. We've had some rain. The last few days, as I mentioned, we've had fog, and today is what I would call a typical autumn day. It's grey, very, very grey, sort of. It's got a depressed look about it, a sense of anticipation. This time in 2008 we had snow on the ground and it was nice. I do like to have snow. Being brought up in the environment that I have been, southeast England, though we don't have snow regularly every year, we normally get a little smattering of it, and for me it just breaks the year up. People say in California or whatever, probably hardly ever get snow on the lower reaches. In the mountains, in the Sierra Nevadas, yes. It's part of the whole weather thing, you know. It is great. It's great. Yeah, it is great. It reminds me of the passing of the year. For me personally, my new year is coming up on what is known as Halloween. I don't go in for the ghoulies and ghosties bit. Samhain, as it's known amongst the Celtic tradition, or the Celtic pagans more or less, was the time of entering into winter. We slaughtered animals, hence the bonfires, which were actually originally known as bonfires. We picked the animals to be slaughtered, to feed us throughout the winter, and kept some back for breeding on for next year. A lot of other traditions went with it. You know, it was it was one of the 2 times in the year when, according to tradition, the veil between this world and the next was quite thin. It was a fire festival. There are 4 fire festivals in the Celtic pagan tradition, and more or less in the Saxon, in the northern tradition as a whole. Our way of life was governed by the way nature was, and we have quite severe weather in times past. In fact, in medieval Britain, I do believe evidence there is of the climate being much as it is now. But in 15th century onwards, for a little while, we had what they called the Little Ice Age. And it's still stuck in our cultural memory. We expect snow in winter. We almost expect to see the Thames frozen over, which very much doubt it will ever be frozen over again until we hit another very cold snap. It's wonderful, and as I look about me now, I see yellows, greens, russet browns, chestnut browns, great colours, great muted autumnal colours. There's only one problem with this autumn this year, and I can find it is that. That so far is the biggest chestnut I've found, and it's half the size of the ones I normally find. But I shall have a nibble on this in a bit, providing it's not been maggotised. It's looking good. Yeah, well, bushcrafty things as a whole. I've set up my own bushcraft group. I may have mentioned this in the last video. It's called Kiss Bushcraft. If you wish to join, seek my approval, and you may or may not get in. The ethos of the group is keeping it simple. No shiny kit as such. You know, you can review your new kit, and I'll be doing a little review in a bit. And we can chat. And it's doing the skills. It's plant identification, tree identification, how we set up our camps out in the woods. But the emphasis is on simplicity. I've just left a Facebook bushcraft group, UK bushcraft, because they're being posted on there knives that I didn't think were appropriate to bushcraft. I mean, a daishi knife looks like a knife for dispatching people. Guy made it, quite proud of making it, but you know, that sort of thing is, for my mind, is inappropriate into a bushcraft group. Plus, the emphasis seems to be on tins. You know, what you can get into a tin to survive. My view on that, as you well know, I have strong views on the survival tin setup, which I don't think is ideal or appropriate or really works. Cody Lundin's setup is a lot better. You know, you got to expect to be rescued within 3 days. If not, then you're in deep doo-doo. What you need to do for that, you're not going to be out. One snare will not catch you a rabbit, or it will do, but you'll be very, very lucky. Catching one rabbit, you need about 30 snares. If you're near a water source, you're going to have to long line, so you're going to need a minimum of 10 hooks. And a good strong night line. You don't want to have it so it's going to snap. And there's so much more. That helps you out survival. Other than that, there's been very little going on as usual around the bushcrafting world. It seems that everybody stopped camping. Me, I'm going to keep going right on through the winter. Whoa, this is good. I've got my tea brewing now. I'm going to keep going right on through the winter. Right on. It's a 365 day a year thing, this. Even when I'm not out here, when I'm at work, it's ticking over in my mind, little scenarios that pop up, places I'd like to go to, places I will go to, and different setups. In a bit I'll be doing a new type of tarp setup. I've bought the little mini tarp I've got, what I use for kitchen work and what have you.
and I'm going to try it out, see if it's easier. For my KISS bushcraft group, I'll be doing some setups on, I'll be doing some equipment reviews, and there will be a review a little bit on the new jack-claw knife. Sandy, I'll explain more in a bit about that. Other than that, I'm going to turn this off because I think I've burbled on enough for a moment, and I'm just going to sit back, enjoy a cup of tea and contemplate my navel. Right guys, I've put the tarp up. I haven't put it up right up, it's just hanging it. It's just I wanted to try the ridgeline bit, which is the basic part of the hang. I've got the idea from the Ultimate Hang by, I can't remember who the author was now, but it's all to do with hammock camping, and this was a method he showed of actually hanging up his tarp. I couldn't find any trees far enough apart here. I suppose if I walked around I would have done, but it shows you the basic principle. What he's done, you got basically two piece of paracord here today, but it could be any type of cordage, fairly narrow, about 3 to 4 mil, I would assume, 5 mil at a maximum, nice and light. And what I've done is at this end, as you can see, I've done a bow line. I put the carabiner there. Now this whips around the tree, you hook it in. Now the carabiner is actually attached to the tarp. I've got this clip here, and I've just hooked it there, so basically the ridgeline goes around and through there, so there's no knots here. And you come up, and basically what you do is you hook it into this end, whip it round the tree, and ideally, there we go, you put the carabiner onto there, and you know, make a prusik knot. So you're actually not tying any knots at all apart from that prusik, and it works very well. I can get a nice tight line, and it's very good. Now I don't know what you guys make of it. I think it's a nice little system. It seems to me a little bit easier swinging the tarp up this way. Ideally you only need to ever use three knots to put a tarp up, or even 4. The initial knot would be either the event slippery hitch or a timber hitch, and then you go to that one, and then it's the tarp taut hitch, and then you've got the guy line hitches as well. So it's just those 3 knots basically, or 3 or 4 knots. But this I find is a lot better. It seems easier. So basically what you do is it's all together as usual, and you just thread it through and thread it through here. It seems to be easier for knocking up. And of course when it rains you haven't got anything dripping down on top of you. You know, if you have the ridgeline underneath the tarp, the tendency for the rain to hit the ridgeline and come in, and you have to have drip hangers up, I will call them, to stop the drips from coming in. My verdict on this, very good. Your verdict, let's see. Back in a mo. Well guys, I hope that tarp setup seems to be working okay. I had another little jigger around with some other ways of doing the prusik knot and what have you. Well, there's only one way of doing a prusik knot, but actually fixing it onto the tarp. And the way I've seen illustrated in the book and the way it's strung up there seems to be okay. I'm going to try it out on the bigger tarp using the obviously the larger rope, and I'm quite pleased with that setup. It's nice and simple, keeping into my ethos of the KISS simplicity. Whoa, my kettle is boiling and I'm going to have some tea. This is going to be the last one for today. And well, there we go. Put the lid on, put the fire up. Right, yeah, it's quite a nice little setup. Very easy to sling it around the trees. Great for the winter, I suppose, because your hands get cold. It saves not tying, and I think it's easier to come down. I'm definitely going to try this. I want to get myself a couple of other carabiners. I've got to see what I've got indoors. You don't need mountain climbing carabiners. You don't need anything that's going to needs to take up a lot of strength. It's just ordinary sort of what I call keychain carabiners, and it looks okay. So far it's holding quite well. There's a bit of a breeze going, so it's flapping about. On another point, and just now while I was sort of like sitting down contemplating what to do to camera, I saw the tail of a fox go past behind me, 20 feet, 30 feet away, and all of a sudden Alfie the Wonderhound, who you can see there, he's a good dog, caught sight of said fox and gave chase. He just went wah, 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 and the fox shot off. He came back. He's a very good dog on that, but it was just surprising to see. I mean, there are a lot of foxes around here. I mean, I see at least 2 every morning on the way to work, and some mornings considerably more. The most I've seen I think so far is about 6 in one morning. It's quite an amazing sight, and they're quite well fed foxes as well. Anyway, it's that's the tarp setup, nice and simple, and I'm trying to keep it that way. I've got some plans on doing. I've done camp setups before, but as I said, may have mentioned earlier, I want to do the similar thing on my Kish Bushcraft site on Facebook. Anyway, there we are.
Well guys, I was wondering if I was going to see any more fungi. There are little tiny specimens here and there, ones I need to identify. I found some charcoal burners, but they are well past their best. And I'm just exiting the woods, and here I found some Lecterius milk caps, and fine specimens they are too. Well, what a nice end to a trip in the woods. So I'll catch you guys later.